And what is the criteria that they're setting?
Right.
Because it's inconsistent.
Is it a criteria or is it just like an agenda?
It's not a good look for Real Madrid.
It's not
overall.
a good look for football.
No.
I don't think.
Not at all.
And that's an event of where you're supposed to show sportsmanship.
Class.
Like, that's kind of the point. Yeah.
Like the people you're competing
Yeah,
with,
you're
show them
saying you're
respect,
saying you're
you know?
bigger than that aspect of the sport.
I was keeping up with League One because of a player I like that plays for the Iraqi international team. His name is Ali Al Hamadi.
Right.
So I didn't know anything about that, and then I go and I see him. He's an Iraqi player that grew up in England, playing English football.
Right.
Slowly getting up in the rankings, and he's playing in the League One team. He's scoring like 15 goals. He has 15 goals.
And for good reason, somebody like you find inspiration
And
through
then
that.
I was. All right, moving on to our last segment to wrap up this episode, unraveling the drama from the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
So, big shift.
Yeah.
The unexpected. No, I wouldn't say unexpected. It's kind of expected,
It was out of nowhere, is
but
what
it
it
wasn't
was.
favorized.
Yeah.
I would say
Yeah,
Right.
a lot of backlash that came from it.
Yeah.
a lot of backlash.
Well, to be honest, in terms of like for me, in terms of the technicality of Rodri getting it over Vini, it's okay to give it to Rodri, right? Like
Yeah.
I think Rodri, it's not a robbery.
No, I wouldn't
say
call
that.
it a robbery.
Never.
Right.
Never.
Right.
I think this year, out of a lot of years, anybody out of that three could have won it, and I don't think there should have been too much drama. It's just the manner in which it came. All the journalists have been leaking for weeks on end now that Vinicius is expected to pick up
I
the
don't
Ballon
like
d'Or.
that part about
Right.
it.
It's
I
not
hate
fun
that.
anymore.
I hate
No.
that. Yeah,
They lost a lot of credibility this year.
Right.
The
Right.
Ballon d'Or, in my eyes, lost a lot of credibility with regards to how they dealt with the entire situation and some of these people on this list and how they ordered them. What is
Right.
your criteria? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Because it's like one thing for one person and it's a whole different thing for another person.
It doesn't line up also with other awards.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Like in terms of Foden being PFA Player of the Year.
Yeah.
And
He
then
finished
him-
behind Erling Haaland.
Right.
If you ask any Man City, the five of them that Man City fans that actually exist, you ask the five of them who's a better player last season and more integral to your team, they'll tell you Phil Foden.
Yeah, he had
It
a
was
great
definitely
season.
Phil Foden.
He had a great
He
season.
had an amazing season.
And you can't say, oh, he was
different.
trash in the Euros. Haaland didn't even show up to the Euros. How is he above somebody like Phil Foden?
Right.
We saw a lot of good stuff from Foden in the Euros. We expected way more because of the hot form he was on.
Yeah.
Coming from City.
Big underachievement
But
from
I
his
feel
part.
like the structure they were playing under kind of.
Florian Wirtz finished behind him. I thought Florian Wirtz was a better player
Right.
than him
He
in
had
every
a hell of a
facet.
season.
He only lost one game last season.
Right.
Two, if you count the Euros part of it as well.
Right.
A lot of these things don't make sense. Like, you're telling me that from Danny Carvajal's perspective, and there's idiots out there that are saying Danny Carvajal should have won the award. Absolutely
Right.
not. Get out of here.
What did he
It's
rank
ridiculous.
that?
He was fourth.
Fourth.
Right? And I guess that's
Amazing.
fine. That's good. That's okay.
Good. That's
but if
really
your
good.
criteria is somebody that won international competition and then won the league and another cup on top of that, why are you snubbing somebody like Lautaro Martinez?
Right.
Martinez had the things that Erling Haaland did, had the things that Dani Carvajal did, had the pedigree with regards to international competition. Why isn't that getting weighed up into a higher position? Kylian Mbappe, how is he behind Kylian Mbappe? Lautaro Martinez was integral to Inter
Yeah,
Milan
Inter
last
Milan.
season.
Yeah.
Deserves a little bit more respect from regards to these rankings.
It goes to speak on how the media is portrayed in the world of football, right? Like people like Lautaro Martinez, he's not somebody that you look at and you're like, oh, like he's a really good example of what a footballer player should look like, right? Like he has tattoos, he wears earrings off the pitch, like this
Right.
type of stuff.
Yeah.
Like I think this type of stuff honestly comes into play.
Who's voting for the Ballon d'Or? It's journalists.
Journalists.
Yeah.
You got idiot journalists that are putting like somebody like Vinicius not even in the top 10.
Yeah.
I saw some of stuff like that.
Right.
Like guys with zero credibility from God knows where in the world. Like what credibility do they have? And
With
what is
the-
the criteria that they're setting?
Right.
Because it's inconsistent.
Is it a criteria or is it just like an agenda?
It could be realistically. And a lot of it came down to that. Like the whole entire time Vinicius is expecting to win it on Monday and then out of nowhere Rodri wins it.
Right.
No, none of the Real Madrid players show up.
Can you guys explain to me like a little bit of that chaos with Real Madrid? Because I obviously know like they didn't.
Yeah, that was
come,
kind of weird.
But
me.
it
I
is
didn't like
weird
that
to
from
me.
him.
I didn't like it either.
That's kind of like, if it's not me, then we're not going type thing.
Yeah.
What is that? You're disrespecting like the
I
big, one of the
think what it is
sport.
they
You're
felt
disrespecting the
disrespected
sport.
themselves. They felt themselves probably were disrespected, and then noticing that Vini didn't end up getting it after they were told that he would be getting it.
But that's so wrong.
It's
Why
not
would you
good. It's
tell
not a
him?
good look for Real Madrid.
It's not
overall.
a good look for football.
No.
I don't think.
Not at all.
And that's an event of where you're supposed to show sportsmanship. Like,
Class.
that's kind of the point. Yeah.
Like the people you're competing.
Yeah,
with,
you're
show them
saying you're
respect,
saying you're
you know?
bigger than that aspect of the
Dude,
sport.
it's like the Met Gala of football.
Right.
Ballon d'Or.
Right.
A lot
Yeah.
of big stars and people
Right.
were missing.
Yeah.
As they're opening the envelope, people are cheering in the crowd. Vini,
Yeah,
Vinicius, Vini
that was
Jr.
Really
That's so
unprofessional.
unprofessional, awkward, realistically, you know?
Yeah.
And I really feel like it was even out of nowhere because a lot of the City people weren't even there.
Right.
Pep Guardiola wasn't there. Bernardo Silva wasn't there. Phil Foden wasn't there. Erling Haaland wasn't there. It was like only Rodri, and I think Bernardo actually was there. Sorry, my mistake. But overall, it kind of felt like rushed even from their part.
Right.
Because all the talk was that he's going to win it. And then come Monday, there's rumors that actually, no, it's Rodri. This is the
Yeah.
actual list.
Right.
And then, boom, out of nowhere, this is what ends up happening. And none of the
Yeah.
Real Madrid players are there.
They're taking the suspense out of it, type thing. You know,
It's
like
not
Yeah.
good. I'm not a fan of it.
like they're just trying to get the reward ceremony out the way and just go on.
Yeah.
But I saw quite a few Barca players up there regarding Zamal winning the.
Did you
youngest-
see that video
Yeah.
where he's looking at Bonmati's Ballon d'Or and it's just like, oh, that's gonna go so hard in the
Right.
end in 10 years time.
I mean, that I feel like that just like that award ceremony hasn't been at its where it used to peak at back then
Yeah.
when they used to have the big players. Like,
No,
I don't know why it just dropped.
I think
lost
it's
credibility,
It's
man.
constant years of losing
Right.
credibility.
Yeah.
Like you saw a few years where like respect to Ronaldo because most of the years he was president, but you did see a couple of years where Ronaldo or even Messi would snub it just because the other one was winning it.
Right.
You know, and
But
then-
they'll still show up though.
yeah,
they
well,
would always be there.
Right?
yeah. I think there was a couple though that didn't show up. I think it was like one or two. I remember Ronaldo specifically.
Right.
Yeah.
He definitely didn't show
I've
up for
always-
one, and I know
right.
it's because he thought he deserved that
Right.
over
Right.
Messi, and he knew who was like it was gonna be Messi.
Yeah, they let him know earlier beforehand because they can't. Imagine
But-
you give the Ballon d'Or and the guy's not there. That
Yeah.
can't happen.
But like back in the day, we did not know who was gonna win until that day of the
yeah,
Ballon
this
d'Or.
Right.
age of social media has
Right.
taken a lot
Yeah.
of
It's
spice
Like bringing
and
in
fun
like
and flavor.
not disrespecting like streamers or whatever, but bringing in the likes of like Speed into
Yeah, it's
one of the
comical.
biggest ceremonies in football. Like
Yeah,
kind of making it look like they're taking it like as a joke,
as a
like,
show,
They're
right?
just trying to get entertainment out
Yeah,
of it. Like,
yeah. I don't like that aspect. Again, it's like
a prestigious
what
award.
hits the
Right.
most, what gets the most likes.
There's
what,
like we clown on the Ballon d'Or and the way they run it and whatnot, but at the end of the day, it is the most prestigious
Yeah. It is.
individual
like
award.
I was just thinking to my head, can you replace the Ballon d'Or or no? You just have to make it right.
You have
have
to.
to.
They have to solidify a certain criteria and they have to stick with it.
Maybe-
Maybe one year it's international competition, the next year it's
Right.
numbers.
Yeah, no, it's
the
not
year
fair.
after that is the number of trophies
not
you won.
fair.
It's just narrative.
It's not fair.
It's narrative.
maybe
Yeah.
like the characteristics of the players haven't been the same as what we've been seen
Used to.
before.
This is the worst Ballon d'Or list I have
Maybe
ever
that's
witnessed.
why it's like a show that it's not that entertaining anymore.
Anymore.
type thing.
Wow. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Even the
Right.
players don't respect it. Like
Yeah.
those guys that aren't anywhere near it. Like I look at a lot of this list, and a lot of those people were missing from that. Like even guys like Danny Olmo, Florian Wirtz, none of those guys were there.
Usually like your starting
Danny
11.
Olmo was there.
Oh, he was.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Usually
mistake.
like your starting 11, like your the starting 11 of the Ballon d'Or, like
Yeah.
that aspect of it. Usually you see all of those
Right,
guys there,
you see it
and
there.
even the top 10 of the Ballon d'Or list. Usually you see all of those
It
guys
was like
there.
a big achievement, even being in
yeah,
that
even
convo
be
back-
considered exactly.
Right? So
So
like
it's
people
like
be there like you take pride in that.
yeah,
Being
like
talked
Wirtz,
as
wherever he is, like I would take that as a huge achievement for myself as a player.
Being there,
Being there.
Like
too.
I'm like, man, like I'm up there. I'm looking forward to that ceremony, if anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost use it as a fire for the next year. I want to be not looking at the person grabbing the Ballon d'Or, but instead of grabbing it.
With Florian Wirtz's team, Bayer Leverkusen, I saw that Real Madrid were selected as the club of the year.
Right.
and Ancelotti was the coach of the year,
Right.
I would have gave both of those honors to Bayer Leverkusen for what they did last season.
Right.
Lost one singular game in
They
the Europa
deserved
League
it.
final.
Way
They
more.
should
They
have
deserved
gotten
it.
that.
I mean, they had me and not to discredit myself, but like they had average fans,
Yeah.
right, tuning into the league, tuning
Right.
into their games,
What a
tuning
year
into
they
the
had.
Europa League games. Like they completely raveled up the world.
Oh yeah.
They had a couple of games where they went down to the last minute and they
Yeah,
just
they
scored
just
like a couple
kept
of goals.
doing it.
They went from Bayer Leverkusen, or the big stigma with them back in the day.
Right.
It was the year where Zidane scored the goal, the famous goal he scored against Leverkusen in the Champions League final.
Right.
They were on for a treble. Ended up losing every single one of
that's
them. Got
right.
dubbed Bayer Neverkusen.
Yeah.
Right.
Now they went from Bayer Neverkusen to Bayer Never Losing.
Never
Wow.
losing.
Yeah.
So I love that. As a story and what football represents, I give it to those two guys.
Yes, sir.
Not let's pamper
Because
around
that
Madrid.
was like
Yes,
the
sir.
once a decade type of performance out of a team.
Big time.
Yeah.
And especially being a low
Dude,
team like
once I mean, look at like Arsenal going invincible. Like people
Right.
say that's never gonna happen again.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like they did it in multiple leagues.
Yeah. They didn't sack off multiple
if
competitions
they didn't
for it.
lose that Europa League final, they go undefeated.
Right.
Insane.
Like that's absolutely.
I was surprised
nuts.
to see them lose that final.
That never
honestly.
happens with any other team.
We'll
again.
tell our children about that team.
Yeah, that doesn't
genuinely.
happen. Like that's as a big of achievement
No,
as like
it's
Leicester City winning the league.
Big.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Big,
like that
big, huge.
rarity.
No,
That
absolutely,
rarity.
for sure.
Yeah.
For them to go strong in all those competitions, that's
But-
unprecedented, really.
We haven't. They're not the last year's Bayern Leverkusen this season though.
No, that's
They
been
dropped,
a little different.
They dropped performance a little bit,
Yeah.
but they're still up there.
They'll be in it. I think there's a lot of naivety coming from Bayern Munich, and overall, Bayern's been a very
Right.
stern and well-structured club. Recently, I'm not seeing a lot of
No.
that. They're not promoting the guys they should be, and just hiring a guy like Kompany. Realistically, I don't think that's a good move for them.
and
Yeah.
having
They'll get back into it.
Champions League football for them is a big thing as well. You
Yeah.
know, because coming from Europa League to Champions League, that's a big jump.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that can have an effect on them.
Yeah,
as
they have
well.
to cope with all of that. No, but I mean, in terms of like what the award, like I like how you put it, Lawa, in terms of like for what football represents and what football should stand for, like giving it to Leverkusen. I like how you put that. You know,
Right.
how does that translate to a player and the Ballon d'Or prize? You know, what type of player should be representing
Yeah.
football and
Right.
the Ballon d'Or and what that should be about.
Narratives is a big part of it, It's not just the trophies or just the numbers. It's the narrative plays a big part into it as
Right.
well. Like the
Yeah.
stories.
Right.
You want to reward those people.
Yes.
You want to put them on the pedestal and have them like almost shown to
Right.
the rest of the world
Yeah.
that their appreciation for that aspect.
Right.
Um,
What else? Because also like for example, like if you go just based off, obviously that's not what you're trying to say. Like, but if you go just based off like narratives, right? Like people like Conte and what he did with Leicester City, or like even Jamie Vardy, what he
Right.
did, those people would be like
It should
top,
be.
top 5, top 10.
I think it should
right?
be. I look
Yeah.
at some of these guys on this list.
Because
Artem
they're
Dovbek.
they're nowhere at that time. For example, they were nowhere near as technical as the other players.
No, not at
right?
all.
But like you believe like they should be up there.
No, yeah, I think
Definitely.
it's a part of it. It's for me, it's difficult. It's just pick a certain criteria, make sure it's all encompassing and representative, and stick to it
And stick
year
to
in
it.
year out.
Yeah.
I don't want
I
it to be
agree.
one thing one year, another
No,
thing
it's
another
not
year.
fair.
Keep it the same structure,
Yeah.
realistically.
And one thing I was thinking about was like maybe they gave it to Rodri because like of the injury he's going through, and maybe he'll never be the same. So maybe like he deserves it. Like
I
Right.
think there's two things with this. One of them is a conspiracy theory that I'm kind of subscribing to right now, and the other thing is a little bit of the narrative thing. Think about that Spain generation. Let's go with the narrative part first. That Spain generation that nobody saw a Ballon d'Or from.
Yeah.
The most dominant international side any of us and most people older than us have ever witnessed.
Yeah.
For-
Not one player came out of that generation with a Ballon d'Or because
Right.
of Messi and Ronaldo.
right.
Right.
In a sense, this could be France football and the Ballon d'Or
Giving back.
giving it back and showing appreciation for Spanish football,
Spanish
in
football.
a sense.
But it's been a long time.
Yeah, for sure. But
really long
it's
time.
and the second part, the conspiracy theory. There's a big court case with regards to France, PSG, Qatar, and Kylian Mbappe over wages that weren't paid from his Real Madrid move.
Wow.
So some people are saying, oh, maybe there's a part to play. Maybe somebody like Nasser Al Khelaïfi hops on the phone and says, you got to give it to somebody else that's not a Real Madrid player because we're
Right.
beefing at the moment in court at least.
I would really hope that that's not the
That's
case.
so- that's
That would be
people,
bad.
If people like that can have
That much say,
authority and
yeah.
power and
That's
manipulation,
like politicians.
exactly. That
But
just
that's
becomes
unfortunately, that's what our game is turning into.
right.
Yeah.
It's a game of big nation states coming in, taking over clubs, pumping money into it, hoping that they're going to be successful so they get a better image for their country.
Right.
I'm looking at Saudi Arabia. I'm looking at
Yeah.
Qatar. I'm looking at Russia, like, what you guys had beforehand. A lot of that has come in. What happens when you go and look to punish a club like Manchester City and in court you're facing up against the prosecutors of a nation state?
Right.
What happens when a United Arab Emirates comes to a United Kingdom prime minister and says, maybe we'll heighten the prices of oil
Right.
if you don't take it easy on these guys in court?
Yeah.
Now you have nation states that are controlling the game that's meant for the common folk.
I mean, and just in general, that's way too much power.
Yeah.
That is-
Like, that's way too much power. Like, for example, that made me think of when Man City pulled up with those 50 lawyers.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, that's too much. That's too much.
It's embarrassing.
No, it's too much.
Like,
Like,
you
you
can't
should
go
not.
against it.
The game is not about that.
Nah.
You know,
What
and
is
if
the
you're going-
beautiful
if-
game?
If you're going into, like, for example, like, in terms of comparing Chelsea to City, right? In terms of what happened with the takeovers.
Yeah.
For example, Chelsea, yes, they did it, and yes, they pumped money, but every single consequence that they said every single thing that we did illegal or that whatever we were supposed to
Shady.
be punished by,
Yeah.
we did.
For the most
we were-
part,
we
yeah.
we pretty much we had multiple bans,
Yeah.
all that stuff, and since then we've made sure that our net profit is always the best. And
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So that's one thing that, like, I don't know, to me, that Man
That
City
is
team,
Influence
it
shouldn't
doesn't-
be there,
it's
man.
not the same, right?
Not
Like, it's
for
not the same.
such a greedy, like,
No, and if you're
narrative.
wrong, you're wrong, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you're wrong, you have been pumping money into your club and trying to
Illegally,
win this
at
way.
least, yes.
Dude, like, admit to what you did.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not more of a point. Like, you're just proving yourself more wrong by going out of your way to truly win this
What
thing.
I
When
hate,
you know you're
what I hate the most about the narratives that these nation states push through their football clubs, it's sports washing.
Yeah.
That's the
Right.
term that they use. But it's the beautiful game for a reason. There's a reason why it's the most popular sport in the world. There's a reason why it's a Roman circus, yes.
Right.
But people tune in week out because you can watch a Premier League game on the weekend and just pop out with a few of your boys and you're just knocking a ball around. It's a
Right.
simple game.
Right.
It's a simple game that rewards hard work and determination. And some of the best stories that come from it are guys like Jamie Vardy
Yeah.
climbing the ranks. Guys
Yeah.
like teams like Luton Town
Yeah.
coming into the Premier League
right.
with more entities coming like this into the sport, having the level of influence to maybe potentially rig a Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
Again, it's a conspiracy theory, but you're killing the game for me,
Yeah,
man.
you're
That's
not
not the thing I
inspired.
fell in love
that's,
with.
That's not inspiring.
No.
That's
And
not inspiring.
Seeing the lower teams getting like the worst out of it is they getting points deducted. Like
Yeah.
Everton had to go through.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it was Crystal Palace was another team. And
Yeah.
What is
It's
that
sad.
about? Like,
It's
why
really
do they have
sad.
to face those punishments
Right.
from probably like minor?
They don't have a nation state that's behind them that'll
Exactly.
tie it all up in litigation and make it
It's
push
all
out as
about-
long as it has.
It's all about your reputation.
These charges go from 2012 to 2018. What about after 2018?
Yeah.
They've pushed it off for that long.
Right.
And a good majority of those charges come from what? From obstructing the investigation in itself.
Yeah.
So it's like you have this
Nah,
power
I think-
I don't
as a
think-
nation
you
state to
shouldn't-
push litigation into this thing. It's problematic.
that's
Don't like
problematic.
it. I'm
That's
not here for
problematic.
it.
I feel like they don't want to get into it too much, especially coming from like Premier League, the biggest league in
Right.
the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Having that negativity, that agenda on you,
Yeah.
that's gonna turn down a lot
Right.
of future probably opportunities for them.
I hear
Just
it.
like
Right.
the viewers' point. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
wow, this happened in the Premier League. This is
Right.
the most
Like-
legit league you can ever think of.
Like-
Like, there's sketchy stuff going on.
And you think about Italy. Remember the Calciopoli
Oh,
scandal?
yeah.
That ruined Italian
Exactly.
football. Italian football in the 90s and early 2000s was better. It was the best
best
product.
league, yeah.
It was the best product. All the best players played in it. Everybody was tuning in, whether they were living in Italy or not, were tuning into Italian football. The Calciopoli scandal with the rigging of the referees really had them lose a lot of credibility.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You look at what Premier League is dealing with this Man City situation, it could blow up in their face.
I
And the
mean-
Premier League will lose credibility
They will
Yeah.
if they come out losing from an
This is
investigation
a
like
team
this.
that won 4 Premier League titles, turned the Prem into like almost a farmers league.
Yeah.
4 in a row,
Never
I would say.
seen
Just
before.
that. Yeah.
Just
They
that,
have
and
8
yeah.
now.
and then to go back and say, yeah,
fraudulent.
but that was
It was all
that
fraudulent.
just cheating.
Yeah.
Like that's a big.
How
hit on
do
the
you
crown.
like what the very big thing I've been fighting and trying to come to a conclusion for is how do you punish them if you deem
Yeah.
them guilty? Do you
Right.
relegate
That's kinda-
them? Do you give back titles? What do you do? What makes
that's what I'm
sense?
saying. This is gonna get so
It's gonna get
complicated.
stained.
Because it's not just, oh, I'm Arsenal or, oh, I'm Man United. We finished second. We'll get a Premier League.
Right.
What about the teams that lost to Manchester City that ended up getting relegated and
Right.
missing out on money that they got? Like, it's
Right.
complicated. In my
really
head, the
complicated.
only thing that I've come to that might make sense is successive points deductions on multiple years on end.
Right.
Which could ruin them as a football club.
Right.
We could get to the end of the season and Manchester City are champions. News comes out they broke 115 charges, dock 30 points. Boom. Whoever at second place gets the
or they
gets the
get
what's it
hit with a
called?
massive. Maybe they get hit with the ban from the market transfer
Yeah,
market,
like a
or
Yeah,
like
but-
a 2-year transfer ban.
or they. And
That's
they,
a slap on the wrist.
All right,
That's not enough for me.
And a lot of maybe they're gonna have to pay a lot of money. They're gonna get.
This is a
Nah,
nation state
I don't
we're
want.
dealing
I don't
with.
want a money
It's nothing
That's
for
what I
them.
think is gonna head towards.
I
to.
really hope not.
It's-
Because that's gonna be
it's-
the easiest solution for them.
These guys call a million and a billion a dollar. Like the way we
Right.
count a
Yeah.
dollar, they counted a million.
Money
It's nothing.
consequences should not be in
I'm
the
not.
window.
You have to punish something like that to if
You
you're
have
found
to, you have
guilty.
to punish what has happened on the field.
Yeah.
Because that's how like deep it got.
Yeah.
You know?
You're setting it because then let's say they come out of this squeaky clean.
Yeah.
My club, your club, and your club now know that there's loopholes in this process that we're gonna try and get around with regards to sponsorship money, and we're just gonna pump. And people are like, oh, why is that a problem? You know, like football clubs are getting richer. The whole Super League fiasco. Why did
Yeah.
people fall out and stop a Liverpool versus Man United game?
Right.
Right.
Because that affects the grassroots level. That affects talent production.
Yeah.
That affects the ability for people from the bottom to be able to filter towards the
Exactly.
top. Because if I'm guaranteed a Super League place every single year and the amount of money that gives me, Southampton aren't going to be a problem for me ever.
No.
You know, never ever. I'll just have the best team, the best second team, and the best third team that can't even compete with their first team.
Right.
You've killed competition.
They
Yeah.
killed it.
You've killed inspiration.
It's
You've
like-
killed inspiration.
They're trying. It's like the bringing capitalism into football.
Yeah.
Big time. Big
Yeah.
time. That's exactly what we were seeing
And we
realistically.
do not want to see that. We love the game
No.
for
What it is.
what it is, right?
Yeah.
Just seeing those little teams battle for the Premier League, staying
Right.
up there, and if you take that away from them, then what is the competition
What is the
about?
point?
What are you playing there for?
Yeah.
Just being a young lad from an academy, like where are you gonna get your aspiration from?
Right.
A big thing within academy football in particular is like nearly 0.01% of these guys ever make it to
Yeah.
professional
Right.
football. A lot of those guys work their whole entire lives and get released.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you've been working since you're 6-7 years old, hard. You're 18 years old, and the academy decides, yeah, I don't think it's good for you. Like we don't
should
see a
part
future
ways,
with you.
yeah.
Those guys go into Sunday league ball, and they're just trying to figure it out. They've waged all their bets to becoming a Premier League footballer, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, you hear about all the mental issues that invokes.
Exactly, and there's a lot of good stuff that's going on from Rio's side. I think even Trent's doing a
Trent,
lot of
yeah.
good work with regards to that. So respect to
But
him
a
for
lot
that.
of them sometimes they just drop to like lower teams and work their way up again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which
But,
is a good.
but
thing.
like, imagine in a Super League context, I get
Right.
the X amount of money every year. What do I need an academy for?
No.
I can go sign Guillermo for 80 million, the best right back in the Premier League last season. He can be my backup. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's no point in me having an academy.
Yeah.
I'm
And
a
I-
Manchester United fan, and the thing that gravitates me towards Manchester United is our inspiration from our youth,
Right.
Right.
and how we grow and
That's the
develop our
culture.
youth
Yeah.
to become the players that we are.
Right.
Like there hasn't been a non-Manchester United academy player in our starting lineup since like 1930. That's
Right.
like before World War II.
Yeah.
That's why.
That is built in our tradition.
Yeah.
And clubs coming in with that kind of money, that kind of influence to maybe ring a Ballon d'Or,
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of it, man.
And
It's-
I'll be honest,
deeper
like,
than just
with
football.
With this bully takeover, like I'm not a fan of a lot of the business stuff that he's done.
yeah.
In terms, I don't mind the
Shady.
I don't mind the long year contracts. That's not what I'm getting at.
Shady.
What I
Some of
don't,
it's
what I
shady.
do mind is like, for example, like the Strasbourg stuff.
Yeah.
I don't like that sister club. Like I think that's all really shady.
All very, very shady. You're
And,
talent
like,
hoarding.
Yeah, it's
Those
not
are guys
fair.
that aren't going to get a fair opportunity.
No,
because
they'll
the
get
turnover.
fair opportunities, but it's not about that. It's about the other guys.
Yeah.
Like it's about, for example, some of those guys. For example, what's his name? His name starts with a D, but he's a really good winger, and we loaned him out to Strasbourg. And he's killing it. Like he's doing really
David
well.
Washington?
No, it's somebody else.
Okay.
He's Brazilian. He has dreads. He has colored eyes.
Ah.
Anyways, it's like Diego. It's Diego something.
Right.
Anyway, so he gets a chance to play at Strasbourg. He's doing well, all this stuff. But then what about, like, the other academy lads? Where are they going to?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And we've already seen it so much. We were talking earlier, Guay, right? Missing out on Guay, Hall,
Tamori.
Tamori,
Hall.
Ola Aina, like, all these big-time players.
Tammy
And those
Abraham.
are the good stories. Cho. Those are the good stories that made it to, like, a decent club.
Yes.
Pretty good, decent club, you know? And those are success stories. And yeah, I don't know. It just takes away from the game of football in general.
Not a fan of
Especially
it.
seeing Man City, like their owners like own other teams as well.
Yeah.
Within the football.
They're talent hoarding.
What is that? Like at the end of the day, you're just looking at it from a business standpoint.
Yeah.
It's not even football anymore.
No.
And
absolutely.
it's like gym class, right? Like when you
Right.
play, you don't want to bail with the best team. Because then what? You're just winning every game. It's not
need a
fun.
bit of a challenge.
You know, you want to, maybe you have one good person, but then you have like two decent other persons that are not that good. And
Yeah.
then the competition comes in, and then it's fun.
Competition
You
is what
know?
gravitates us towards sport.
Yeah.
If it was 100% like, oh, Real Madrid will win La Liga every single year, why would you ever tune into a Real Madrid game?
Yeah.
Right.
It becomes stale. It becomes
Yeah.
boring. I'd say that to Real Madrid fans all the
Maybe you're saying
time.
that because you're a Man U fan. You haven't felt
Hey,
that.
I've seen and
He's
tasted
forgotten.
that glory.
He's
You know what I'm
forgotten
saying?
how to-
We
he's
had to
forgotten.
lay back a little bit so you little guys can come into the fold. You know,
I feel like if you're
30-year title drought and all coming at me. All right. We're only
All right,
10
man,
years
chill
in.
out,
Slow
chill out.
down.
Tell him it's been 3 years, buddy.
The thing is, if you're like Man U fans right now, they would not complain about winning week in, week out.
No, absolutely.
They'll
But I'm
enjoy
saying
it.
like from a competition standpoint.
Yeah, I get you.
Like not me as a United fan.
I know.
But somebody growing up and just looking at a situation where
they
you're
love
just winning
it,
all the
honestly.
time.
Like
Yeah.
they want to stay on that track. They want to
Yeah.
keep winning.
Of
'Cause,
course,
you, know,
you get money. You
the
want to win.
fans-
For example, for me, Chelsea fan. Like I do love the culture and all that stuff, but honestly, that's not what got me to become a Chelsea fan. What got me to become a Chelsea fan is that they won.
Yeah.
Like not to say like I'm a bandwagon or anything, but I watch games and I
Attracts.
love the way we won, like things like that. You know, I don't like seeing Chelsea lose.
No,
like
I hear
it's
you.
not fun. You know what I'm saying? But I enjoy that aspect of it. Of like,
a
oh man, I don't
different-
know what's happening now.
A different perspective is like I'm a United fan. I'm living here. You're a Liverpool fan living here, and you're a Chelsea fan living here.
Yeah.
What about the guys that live in I don't even know Bournemouth?
Right.
That grow up supporting that small football club that
Yeah.
build it up into the Premier League.
Yeah.
That's worth more to them
Yes.
than me and you like
Yes.
sitting here watching us win an FA
Yes.
Cup.
Yes.
It means more to those people.
Oh, yeah.
What happens when those people stop showing up in the stands?
Yeah. It's when it's no longer their team.
It's not competition, or maybe they've been bought out by some oligarch that's
And
just
it's no
using it as a plaything.
you can't recognize. Like it took a long time for me to like recognize Chelsea again.
Yeah.
And like for a year and a half, I had no idea what was gonna happen with
Right.
us. Like who we were. Are we actually gonna become a mid-table team? Like
Yeah.
that's a scary thought, you know. And it's like obviously I'm like no, of course not. Like we're winners, you know.
Right.
But like that happens, and if you're not a big enough team like Chelsea, like that can be the difference between turmoil of your season.
Yeah, seasoned your club. Not,
Yeah.
Look at some of these clubs that are completely getting dissolved. Bordeaux,
Yeah.
a famous French institution, bro. They've brought through quality talent. Ben Arfa was a Bordeaux player.
Yeah.
He ended up going to Lyon afterwards, but he was a player that brought through.
You're
to
hearing
the
a
Bordeaux
lot
system.
more of those stories, like players going back to old clubs just to
Right.
help out. Reece
Clubs-
James with Wigan.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like some of those clubs trying to compete with those guys that are throwing money at the wall have
Right.
gone under.
Yeah.
Leeds United are lucky that they were able to come back into it, but they're very close to dissolving as a football
Right,
club.
yeah.
And they are massive in English football. Bordeaux's big in France. They're a completely dissolved club. Schalke is a huge name in German football.
Right.
They spent so much money and ended up going under, and now they're nearly relegated from the second
So
division
many
of
talent,
Bundesliga.
yeah.
To the point where if they go to the third tier of Bundesliga football, they can't become a football club anymore because they have too much debt and they have rules against that.
Yeah.
You allow stuff like this to happen, you allow that influence to come into the game, and you're ruining it.
You're ruining
ruining it, as
You're
that
ruining
one
it.
meme goes, you know? You're ruining it.
For real, man.
Yeah.
We have not been liking the way they've been going upon these sort of.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
We can't.
It's a passionate subject for
It's
myself.
kind of like, I feel like they're trying to, they're viewers, they don't care about the old generation anymore. They're shifting their viewers to the new generation.
Dude, have you seen like some of the stuff from the Super League and all that? Like Florentino Perez, for example, doesn't think that football fans have enough of an attention span for a 90-minute game and wants to bring it down to 60.
Wow.
What are you talking about, my brother?
That's crazy.
That's insane. Like
that's probably for the
do
new
not
gen. For
mess-
the new gen, that's probably accurate.
do not mess with the culture of football.
No.
I promise you, you will not be successful. And you saw that with that Super League fiasco. Making the biggest game in British football stop to a halt.
Some sports are really good with that type of stuff. Honestly, I would say American sports are really good with adapting and keep evolving their sport.
Right.
But
You
look
know,
at-
but
look at-
soccer is not that type of sport.
I don't like
wrestling
American
is
sports.
not that type of sport.
You gotta think about
you can't
American
mess with the
sports.
culture.
Yeah,
American sports,
they've
it's a pot where all the talent is in, all the money is in, and it gets shared with everybody. But you don't have any story like a Leicester City.
Right.
You don't have a Bayer Leverkusen.
Yeah.
It's very, very rare. Like you have to make a
You
franchise,
almost
throw a
know
lot
who's
of
gonna
money at
win
it.
before the season begins.
It doesn't. It's like it's. I guess it makes it so that more people are allowed to win, but you don't give as much opportunity. Like if there's a multi-league tier system where there's promotion and relegation, it makes things more interesting.
Yeah.
That's why people love it.
Now
I'm telling
more
you.
people can join too.
Yeah, I'm fighting to get promoted. I'm
Right.
fighting not to
Yeah.
get relegated.
Right.
There's still drama within
Yeah,
that. Instead of
there's a
finishing
lot of drama.
mid-table in the NBA and then you just
Otherwise-
sacked off the rest of your
That's
season,
what
there's
was
nothing in it.
beautiful stories you see. Like
Yep.
last season, I knew Ipswich Town. They were playing in League One. a
Yeah,
couple
why would you
seasons
care
ago.
about League One football, right?
And then I was keeping up with League One because of a player I like that plays for the Iraqi international team. His
Yeah.
name is Ali Al Hamadi.
Right.
So I didn't know anything about that, and then I go and I see him. He's an Iraqi player that grew up in England, playing English football.
Right.
Slowly getting up in the rankings, and he's playing in the League One team. He's scoring like 15 goals. He has 15 goals.
And for good reason, somebody like you,
Yeah.
you find inspiration
And
through
then
that.
I would see them, and then he went to a winter transfer window opens, goes to Ipswich Town,
Yeah.
and I'm like tuning into Ipswich Town games.
Yeah.
And out of nowhere, they're like competing
Promoted.
to get promoted, and now they got promoted to the Premier League.
Yeah.
That's the stuff you want to watch.
Yeah.
love it. It's great.
That
Like-
keeps you in. Like
Right.
it brings you back because that's like almost comparing from like, for example, dopamine to serotonin.
Right.
Yeah.
Like dopamine is like that quick game that's like really flashy, whereas serotonin is like you watch that team.
You
Yeah.
watch
Like
it.
you watch that team for 6 months, and now you see them get promoted. And now you're seeing it in the Prem.
Right.
You know their whole perspective.
That's
yeah,
It's beautiful.
it's good stuff.
It's a beautiful game,
You
isn't it?
can't get rid of that
No.
stuff from the game.
No.
I think it will take a lot for them to take that out of the game, but
Yeah.
you're slowly seeing it, right?
Yeah, I mean, going back to our original topic, like you're seeing it a lot in the Ballon d'Or.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that's an example of how politics and corruption has hit those heights of football.
Yeah, think about it. Everything's an interaction. Speed. Oh, speed got caught at the Ballon d'Or. Oh, it's gonna do numbers. Everyone's
gonna
gonna
do
see
numbers,
it.
yeah.
Me putting this guy one place behind this guy, people are gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
This is a award from journalist for journalist, like concocted from journalists. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like they want that narrative. They
Yeah.
want the clicks. They
Yeah.
want the
They want-
retweets.
they wanna
They
sell.
want the comments. They
wanna
want the
adjust
engagement.
to today's world's
Yeah.
viewership. And
Not
stuff.
good enough, man.
Right.
Stick to the tradition that has been so successful for you for near 100 years.
Yep.
Stick to it.
Yep.
Trust me.
Yep.
It's not a broken system.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Well, that will be it for us today. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure to like, share, subscribe if you haven't. Leave us with some comments how you feel about what we talked about with football, whatever. Clown our teams, Chelsea, Man United.
Yeah.
There's a lot to clown on, honestly.
Let's get into it in the comment section. Yeah. We're looking
Yeah.
for some more engagement from you guys. So give us some topics, things you want us to talk about, narratives that you want us to touch on, and we'll be sure to get into it.
Yes, sir.
You guys.
Peace.